We're gonna read again from the meaning of Masonry. Look what it says here. Candidate proposing to enter Freemasonry has seldom formed any definite idea of the nature of what he is engaging in. Even after his admission, he usually remains quite at a loss to explain satisfactorily what Masonry is and for what purpose his order exists. He finds, indeed, that it is a system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. But that explanation, whilst true, is but partial and does not carry him very far. For many members of the craft, to be a Mason implies merely connection with a body which seems to be something combining the natures of a club and a benefit society. They find, of course, a certain religious element in it, but as they are told that religious discussion, which means, of course, sectarian religious discussion, is forbidden in the lodge, they infer that Masonry is not a religious institution, and that its teachings are intended to be merely secondary and supplemental to any religious tenets they may happen to hold. So they infer erroneously, that's what he's trying to say, that Masonry is not a religious institution, which it is. One sometimes hears it remarked that Masonry is not a religion, which in a sense is quite true, and sometimes that it is a secondary or supplementary religion, which is quite untrue. Again, Masonry is often supposed, even by its own members, to be a system of an extreme antiquity that was practiced and that has come down in well nigh its present form from Egyptian or at least from early Hebrew sources, a view which again possesses the merest modicum of truth. In brief, the vaguest notions obtained about the origin and history of the craft, whilst the still more vital subject of its immediate and present purpose and of its possibilities remains almost entirely outside of the consciousness of many of its own members. He's literally saying that many of the members of Masonic institutions or lodges are completely ignorant of its true purpose and its true meaning. He's literally admitting this. And you see how he was saying that in a way that it wasn't a religion. Looky here. Look at what it says about Masonry. It is well to emphasize then at the outset that Masonry is a sacramental system. What is that? Religious. Sacramental, from the word sacrament, from religious sacrament, sacramental system, a system where rituals are done or some intoxicant consumed in an attempt to approach God or become God. This is just something I wrote because that's exactly what it is, even though it might not say that in the dictionary or in the internet. That's exactly what it is. Some people I don't know if you're aware of this, call psychedelic drugs sacraments. I used to be one of them, so I would know, you see? And well, in some churches, also in the Catholic Church, they call the Eucharist a sacrament. You know, when you consume the Eucharist, they call it a sacrament because it's something that may be symbolic. It may be some type of ritual that you do in order to either feel closer to God or be closer to God or communicate with God, etc. So he's literally admitting that Masonry is a sacramental system, which means it's a religious system. But let's keep reading. Masonry is a sacramental system possessing, like all sacraments, an outward and visible side consisting of its ceremonial, its doctrine, and its symbols, which we can see and hear, and an inward, intellectual, and spiritual side, which is available only to the Mason who has learned to use his spiritual imagination and who can appreciate the reality that lies behind the veil of outward symbol. Okay? And you'll see some Mason channels on YouTube. They'll say, "Oh, we're just a friendly brotherhood. We just get together and we're just a social brotherhood who promotes good morals." Well, this Freemason is essentially saying that is bullshit right here. It says it is absurd to think that a vast organization like Masonry was ordained merely to teach to grown-up men of the world the symbolical meaning of a few simple builder's tools, or to impress upon us such elementary virtues as temperance and justice. The children in every village school are taught such things, or to enforce such principles of morals as brotherly love, which every church and every religion teaches, or as relief. By relief he means charity, not in the sense of charity as love, but donations, basically, which is practiced quite as much by non-Masons as by us, or of truth which every infant learns upon its mother's knee. There is surely, too, no need for us to join a secret society to be taught that the volume of the sacred law is a fountain of truth and instruction, or to go through the great and elaborate ceremony of the third degree merely to learn that we have each to die. The craft whose work we are taught to honor with the name of a science or a royal art has surely some larger end in view than merely inculcating the practice of social virtues common to all the world, and by no means the monopoly of Freemasons. Surely then, it behooves us to acquaint ourselves with what that larger end consists, to inquire why the fulfillment of that purpose is worthy to be called a science, and to ascertain what are those mysteries to which our doctrine promises we may ultimately attain if we apply ourselves assiduously enough to understanding what Masonry is capable of teaching us.